Hey guys, it's Charlene. Today I'm going to share with you how to make some really fun and simple Christmas cards, knock out a bunch at one time kind of thing. So here we have the Floral Noel stamps. You can see this says Noel and joy and then lots of fun sub-sentiments. And here we have the stencils. These are also the Floral Noel stencils. And this is a layering set. So I'm going to be working with this today, and it's going to help us to create some really beautiful cards. I think there's 5 or 6. Yeah, there's 6 stencils here, so we're going to be using those. And then this set, this Floral Noel die set, it coordinates, I just have it cut in half for my storage purposes, but it coordinates with both the stamp set and the stencils. So like this large Noel piece here, we'll cut out the Noel here. It'll also cut out the florals and the banner. You can cut out just letters. You can use this smaller Noel or joy to cut these out. So lots of different options with all of these. I have an A2 size piece of cardstock here, and I'm using the first stencil. You can see kind of up here it says Floral Noel letters at the top left. It's a little tricky to see on camera, but I'm going to do, this is going to color in the letters. So I'm going to center this where I like it on my card. And then once I have it centered, I can go ahead and lay that down. And then I'm going to bring in some low-tack tape here, and I'm going to take just a couple of pieces of it, and I'm going to mark where this bottom quarter of my stencil is hitting on my sticky mat. That's going to help me be able to make a bunch of quick multiples where this is centered. To color in my letters, I'm going to use some Distress Black ink, and I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to fill in all the areas of these letters and make sure they're nice and dark. So I finished inking those stencils. I realized I also need to mark on my A2 size piece of cardstock the corner of that so that I can easily put the next piece down. So now I can go ahead and carefully remove my stencil and bring in the next layer of the stencil, which is the large leaves. So this is going to set down right in that same corner where we had our tape, and it's also going to line up where the little embossed parts are for the letters. Now for my leaves, I'll bring in some Rustic Wilderness and just fill in all of the leaf areas. So you can see in this one, I went a little bit over, so I'm actually going to die cut this Noel out. But once I have finished with the leaves, I can go ahead and pull up this stencil carefully, and I'll bring in this stencil, which is for the small leaves, again lining it up right in that same corner, and it'll easily go right where it's supposed to. For these, I'm going to bring in Mowed Lawn, so I'm going to go through and color everything in. Okay, I finished with those small leaf sections, so I'll go ahead and remove this stencil, and I'll bring in this stencil, which is the flowers background, and lay that down. For these, I'm going to use some Lost Shadow, which is very light gray, so I'll go ahead and fill these in. I'll remove this stencil as well, and I'll bring in the flowers foreground stencil, and I'll fill this one in with some festive berries. And then I can go ahead and remove this stencil. And this is the flower centers and stems. And for this last stencil, I am bringing in gathered twigs. Now we can remove the last stencil, and you'll see we have this beautiful Noel to use. When I remove this card panel, I'm just going to carefully peel this off of my sticky mat. And you can see we have this beautiful Noel to use, but it makes it really easy by adding the low-tack tape up here, because you can just come in and add another card panel, and now when you go through your stencils, it's all going to be in the center still on this next piece. And for this one, because I do want to make sure I don't go off the edge, I am going to add some masking tape to the top of each stencil as I put it down in order to ensure that it doesn't happen. Okay, here is our first layer in black and our second layer in the Rustic Wilderness. For this one, I decided I wanted more red, so for the small leaves layer, I brought in festive berries. Now we can remove that stencil. For the flowers background, I used the Lost Shadow again. And since I used festive berries there, now for the flowers foreground, I am going to use some lumberjack plaid, which is kind of a brighter, truer red. We'll do something to help differentiate that a little bit more once we've put down our stem layer. Okay, we finished the flower center and stem layer with the gathered twigs. Okay, to help differentiate those red florals that we did in the foreground, I'm actually going to come in here with a Quickie glue pen and I'm going to color over these. I'm going to try not to glue the centers of the florals. And you could also do this with some glitter glue, but I am going to bring in some rock candy glitter. And I'll go ahead and just sprinkle this over all of those areas. Tap off and we'll let that dry. I'll cut this one out here with the coordinating die and I'm going to hang on to this because this will help me line up my letters on my card front. Now that my glittered piece has dried, I'm going to go ahead and trim 1/4 of an inch off all the way around. I'm going to bring in the North Pole paper pad. So there's all these beautiful, lovely pieces of cardstock and some really nice holiday colors here. And I'm going to use the B side or the back side of this piece here. I cut this pattern paper down to 4 by 5 1/4, and then I have an A2 sized piece of green cardstock. So I'm going to go ahead and add glue to the back of our pattern paper and adhere this to the center of our green cardstock. And then I'll take our Noel piece. You could use foam tape on the back of this, but I'm just going to glue it. So I'll add glue all the way to the back here. And again, I will center it and glue it to this other piece. You can see how that nice green on the edge ties in with our green in our Noel and makes everything look really nice. I set that aside and brought in a small piece of white cardstock. And I'm going to bring in the flowers foreground, and there is a spot here where you can color a banner. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in that same lost shadow and color that in. Once that's colored in, I can go ahead and remove that stencil. And I'll bring in the flowers background and line this up directly over, and this will create our little tails of our banner. For the tails of our banner, I'll bring in some hickory smoke, which is a little bit darker of a gray. And we can remove this stencil. I'm going to bring in the Floral Noel stamps, and I'm going to pull this joyous stamp here, and I'm going to stamp this right on our banner. I'll bring in some intense black ink to stamp this on the top. So we'll go ahead and press and lift, and I'll do that a second time in order to build up that black. We'll go ahead and press and lift. Perfect. I'll cut our banner out with the coordinating die. Our banner is going to go right here over the top of the L. I'm going to bring in a couple of stamps to stamp here and here. All right, I chose Sending You and then Love and Peace. And I'm going to lightly ink these up because these have some really fine lettering on them. I'll go ahead and flip and lightly press these down and lift. Do one more stamping here. All right, we'll go ahead and flip and press and lift. I added some low-tack foam tape to the back of my banner. So now I'm just going to come in and make sure my joyous is straight up and down. And I'm going to bring it over the top of the L like so. To add a little more bling, I brought in some of the North Pole gem stickers and just put them over where some of those red small flowers or berries would be. Then I'll add glue to the back of the entire thing and glue this to an A2 sized card base. Now here is that finished card, really pretty, but very simple to put together. For our card with the die cut letters, I went ahead and cut down an A2 size piece of this pattern paper that has this pretty candy cane stripe. And then I cut a piece in that same green, and this is cut to 3.75 inches by 5 inches. And then I cut down a white piece by 1/8 of an inch on two sides. So that way it's going to give us a tiny little green border that's about 1/16 of an inch. So I'll come in here, add glue to the back of our white piece, and then glue it to the green. By adding that little bit of green around the edge, it's going to create a nice visual border between the white and that candy cane stripe. So we'll go ahead and add glue to the back of this piece now, and we will glue this to the center of our pattern paper. I added some foam tape to the back of all of my letters, and now I'm taking that negative that we created when we die cut, and I'm just using that to help me line up all of my letters. And this makes it really easy to make sure things go down in the right spot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add some tape to my N and my O. And then I'll add some tape here to my E and my L to hold those in place. So now I know that my N and my O and my E and my L are in the right spots. Now when I put these down on my card, all I have to worry about is spacing my N and my E correctly, and everything else will go where it's supposed to go. All right, I've taken the release tape off of my N and my O, so now I can just line this up where I want it on my card and set that down. And then I will remove the release tape from the E and the L. That's all removed, so now I can come in and put my E and my L down. So now when I remove this low tack tape here, it's such an easy trick. Everything will stay where it's supposed to be. I created another banner with the Lost Shadow and the Hickory Smoke, and I have this Happy Holidays stamp. And I'm going to kind of curve it so that it follows the pattern of our banner. So to do that, I'm going to first pick it up with the lid of my MISTI, and then I can manipulate it on the lid so that it's sticking and creating the curve that I want it to create. Once I'm happy with the curve, I can go ahead and stamp this with some intense black ink, just lightly inking up the stamp and lightly pressing it down, because these are some really tiny letters and we don't want to lose those letters. So I'll do this a second time, and we'll flip that over and press and lift. And you can see our Happy Holidays kind of curves along there. To pop up our banner, I went ahead and added some foam squares that I knew are just a little bit thicker than the foam I used on my letters to back it. And I left a spot open right here because this is going to go right over the L. Once I'm happy with placement, I can go ahead and set that down. Next, I'll add this piece to an A2 size card base. So I'll just go ahead and add some glue all the way to the back here and glue it to our base. To add a little bling and finish off the card, I brought in some of the smallest brown and silver North Pole gem stickers, and I just put those here in the centers of the florals. And it kind of helps having the two different colors in each cluster to give it more variety. So here is our finished second card. Look how pretty. Love this. And I'll bring back in our first card, and I like this one as well. This one's definitely almost one layer in terms of its thickness, so super easy to mail. But this one doesn't have too much loft either. So let me know which one is your favorite. I hope you picked up some tips and tricks today. Please be sure to like and subscribe, as well as hit that notification bell so that I can continue to bring you more crafty content in the future. Until next time, happy crafting.